All right, welcome to the Entrepreneur Insider Secrets podcast. Today we're going to be talking about resilience, and specifically resilience in entrepreneurship. And how do you keep going when things are slow and when things aren't going the way that you were really hoping that they would go? Because this is a real thing that basically every entrepreneur has to face, especially when they're first getting started, when they're first going out and building their business, because you start off with this dream, right? And you have this vision of this is what I want to do. This is how I want to make things work and how I want to make things go. And maybe you want to create a coaching program to help people. Maybe you want to create a course that you can sell to people. And those are great things. And those are all great things to have in the process, and they're great businesses to build. But if you want to have a course to sell, guess what? You have to build the course. If you want to have a coaching program to offer, you have to have some structure and some organization and some things laid out for your coaching program. You need to have some things built. You got to have some stuff there. And if you're starting out fresh, you're starting out at the beginning, this is a brand new thing for you, it's going to take a little bit of time to get some of these things built. And you may have this like, okay, well, I'm going to spend the first few weeks getting everything put together, and then I'm going to start bringing in clients. And then a few weeks later, you're still like, well, I'm still working on that. I'm still putting everything together. I'm still getting my thoughts together. I'm still getting everything created. I'm getting all the materials together. And, then you realize I need a website, or I need a way for people to contact me. I need a way to market myself. I need to be a way to be able to do these things. And all of a sudden you realize you're knee deep in a lot of things, and you haven't even really gotten the business off the ground yet. You haven't really even gotten things launched. You haven't gotten things really started, and it can get a little discouraging. It can get a little bit where you're sitting there going, what am I doing? This is taking a lot longer than what I was hoping for. I was hoping to be able to get out there and start getting clients and start making money and start having success on that level. And instead, I'm over here trying to figure out how to make a website work correctly. I'm over here trying to figure out how to structure my course, or how to, how do I build a coaching program? And there's a lot of things, and there's a lot of stuff that's involved in creating something. And obviously, when you first get started out, you don't have to have everything figured out. You don't have to have everything nailed, everything perfect, everything laid out just exactly right in order to be able to launch and to go. That's not necessary. But there's also a level of, there's this tension between launching and getting things going and doing things with excellence and doing things in such a way that you're putting out something that you can be proud of. You're putting out something that you can feel happy with. You can feel like, hey, the product that I put out there, the service that I put out there, this is good. I'm not half baking this thing. I'm actually putting it out there in such a way that it's really good quality. And I can feel proud about that, and I can feel good about that. But when you take that path, which is kind of how I lean as well, I don't like putting things out there that are half-baked. I loathe that, because then I feel like people are paying their hard-earned money. They're paying for what it is that you're putting out there, and you're not exactly giving them your best. You're just trying to find a way to get them to give you money. You're just trying to put something out there that sounds good, and yet when they go into it and they see what you've delivered, it's not great. And I have someone that I still kind of follow that, I'm going to be honest with you, I doubt I'll ever buy anything from him again, because he's a really good marketer, and he's really good at making promises and telling you all the amazing things you're going to get when you join his program. But then you join his workshop, you join his program, whatever it is, and you realize he only delivered on about half of what he promised. And he didn't give you nearly what you were hoping for. That it was a big disappointment. And as a result, I'm not going to do business with him anymore, because it's all promise and it's no delivery. And so there's this tension that you're in, that you want to do a good job. You want to be able to put things out there that you can be proud of. But in doing so, it also makes the business development and growth go slower, because you're spending a lot of time trying to make things good. You're trying to make things like, this is something I could be proud of. This is something that I could feel really good about. I can go out into the world with this and feel like, hey, you're getting my best. I gave you my absolute best to make this as good as I possibly could. I put my heart into it. I really put a lot of time into thinking about this and making it great. But the downside of that is it can become discouraging to you as an entrepreneur, because now you're spending a lot of time working on things instead of actually seeing the money come in, actually seeing the income come in for your business. Because right at the beginning, you're just spending a lot of money. Well, I have to have this service, I have to have that. And so your business becomes an expense more than an income source in the early days. And that can become very, very discouraging. That can become something that you sit there and go, what am I doing? Am I kidding myself? Is this dumb? Am I just spending a lot of money? Am I just wasting a lot of time for something that's never going to really go? And I get it. I understand. There's all of us go through those moments where we sit there and question ourselves and we go, is this ever going to work? Or am I just, I'm wasting my time and I'm wasting my money doing all these things that are never really going to turn into anything. And as a result, this is a bad idea. I'm better off going and doing something else and just saving my money. And so when you have to do that, you have to be able to take a step back, and you have to be able to give yourself a little bit of perspective. And you have to ask yourself a simple question. Why are you building your business? Why are you doing it? Why is it that this is something you want to do? And the question or the answer that you provide, the thing that you put out there and the thing that you say, hey, this is why I'm doing this, that's going to give you a pretty good response as to whether or not you should continue. That's going to give you pretty good feedback. If your response is, well, I need to make some extra money, I need to make a side income, I need to do some things to get the cash flow in, which is honest, it's legitimate, it's real, it's life. Many of us get put in positions in life where we need to make some extra money. We need to get some extra cash in because we got bills coming in. We got things that have to get paid, and we can't mess around. We got to get some money in, and that can become the reason for doing this. Like, I got to get some people who will pay me for stuff because I got bills to pay. Okay, that's honest. You're being very truthful about it. But the other side of it is, so why are you doing this? Why is it that you chose this path to build a business? And if the only reason is because you need some extra money, then that's probably not going to get you through these slow seasons. That's not going to get you through those moments where you're sitting there going, I wonder if I should keep going. If you really started your business because this is what you feel in your heart that you're supposed to do with your life, that this is what you feel called to, this is what you feel led to do, this is the thing that when you look at yourself and you say, when I look at my gifts, when I look at my desires, when I look at my abilities, when I look at the things that drive me, this is really it. This is what I want to do with my life. This is the thing that I just love doing. And the fact that I could get paid to do it, man, that's just almost icing on the cake. Because I love engaging in this type of work. I love doing this type of thing for people because it just gives me such a great sense of fulfillment. So if that's true for you, now you have the reason to push you forward. Now you have the reason to keep going when things are slow. You can go back to those moments where you say, why am I doing this? And when you're discouraged, or when you're sitting there and you're spending yet another evening or yet another weekend working on planning out your course, planning out your coaching, planning out all your services, working on your website, working on this, working on that, putting all these pieces together so you can function well as a business. when you're doing all these things and you're putting all that time, effort, and energy in, and you sit there and go, why am I spending all this time? What am I doing? Am I kidding myself? Then you can answer that question as, because this is what I want to do with my life. Because this is the thing that's important to me. This is the thing that is impactful to me. This is the thing that means something to me. This is what gets me excited in the morning. This is when I wake up in the morning and I go, oh, the thought of doing this today, that's exciting. That's empowering. This is what I love. This isn't something that I have to do. This is something that I want to do. If you're in that place, that will be the driver that will push you through these slow times. That will be the driver that drives you past the discouragement and the frustration when things just seem to be taking a lot longer than you want them to. Because it's very common, because people have these dreams and they get sold these visions of, hey, within, 30 days, you could be raking in the cash. All you got to do is post on social media or do this or do that, and the leads and the money will just come pouring in. Okay, let me know if that works for you. I've seen too many of those scams in my life to count, and all I know is people spend a lot of money on those things, and I never see anybody getting any results, because everybody knows it's a scam. Everybody knows you're not providing anything of real value. You're just trying to get people's money. And so when you do these things, when this is something that you're working on, this is something that you're doing, and you're trying to build a real business, you're trying to do something that's actually a real service, something that's going to have a real benefit to people's lives, something that you can feel proud of, something that you can feel like, hey, I did that. That is something that I can say, that's mine. I feel really good about this. I feel great that I was able to do these things for this person. And as a result, I feel very good about going out and promoting it. I feel really good about talking to people about it. Those are the things that are going to drive you to keep going, because you know that this is not only going to make money for you, this is going to make a difference in the people's lives that use it, that experience it, that go through your program, go through your course, that experience your coaching. Because then you're making a difference in their lives. You know that you are helping them in ways that they would never get on their own. So that's what you're doing. And you have to realize and then recognize that things take time. That when you look at, for example, I grew up on a farm, and it is very, very easily and commonly understood that in the springtime, the farmer tills the soil. He goes out and gets the land and the ground ready and prepared. Then he goes out and he plants the seed. And the seed is all planted in the spring. And yet there is no harvest. We have to wait months and months and months. And sometimes during that time, it can get stressful, and it can get concerning because it stops raining for, extended periods of time. It gets really, really hot, and the crops start burning up, and you're going, oh no. Or there's a flood if you live next to a lower land. There's a river that flooded out, and now all of a sudden your crops are underwater and everything is lost. So you have those moments where you're like, oh no, are we going to make it? Because you planted, and yet it'll be 6 months or maybe even a hair more before you ever get anything back from it. You have to wait. You have to wait for the harvest. And building a business is much like that. You have a time where you're planting, where you're building, where you're putting things into the soil, and then there's going to be a time of nurturing that, what you put in the soil. A time of putting, water on the seed, of making sure it gets sun, of doing those things to make sure it will grow. Same thing is going to be true in your business. It's going to take time. You're going to have to get the initial structure put in place. You're going to have to put the initial pieces in so that you have something to offer, and so that you can have ways of taking payment, so you can ways of communicating what it is that you offer. All of those things kind of need to be in place for this to kind of work. And yet, once you do all that, then you can really start really getting clients coming in and start really focusing on the business client acquisition side and really work on that. But you have to understand that this is your planting season. This is the season where you are planting and nurturing the seeds that you have put in the ground. You're getting them to grow. You're getting them to become full plants so that they can then in turn yield a harvest. All of those things are a part of the process. If you did not plant in the spring, if you did not make sure it had water and sun, that it was cultivated and the weeds didn't take it over and things didn't ruin it, you would have no harvest in the fall. You have to go through the planting season. You have to go through the cultivating. You have to go through that time period where the seed has time to germinate and it has time to grow to produce a harvest. All of those things are there, and we know that when we plant. We realize there's a seed time and harvest. There's a time in there that we have to allow that plant to grow. But a lot of times we forget that when we are dealing with our business. We have this vision of, well, I planted it, I put some stuff out there, and now I should immediately have a harvest. Well, a lot of times it doesn't work that way. It takes time. It takes time for you to get all the pieces right, to get your messaging right, to get everything nailed down, to get it figured out before the harvest really comes, before things really start going. And in the meantime, you have to learn how to become resilient. You have to learn how to be patient, to learn how to stay the path, to learn how to keep working, how to keep going, so that you don't give up before the harvest. One of the biggest things that I see, one of the biggest problems that I constantly see with new entrepreneurs is they plant the seed in the field, and then 3 weeks later, they're wondering, where's the harvest? Why didn't I get anything? Well, nothing happened. Well, I guess that seed was bad, so they till it all up and destroy the field and start over and plant a different seed. Does this sound familiar? Well, I put out an offer to do this one product, and I posted on social media about it, and I didn't get any sales. So I guess that idea stinks and it doesn't work. Now I'm going to offer something completely different. Again and again and again. They put the seed in the soil, and when it didn't immediately generate a harvest, they destroyed it. And they pulled it up, and they planted a completely different seed. And then they did it again and again and again. And those people will never see a harvest because they don't understand how to build a business. They don't understand the process involved in making this work. It takes time. It takes time for you to be able to put the pieces in place so that you can function as a business. And when you're first starting out, it doesn't need to be deep. It doesn't need to be this massive thing, but you have to have a few pieces in place. Like I said, you have to have something to offer. You have to have some way of taking payment for what it is that you're offering, and you have to have a way of communicating what it is that you're offering. And depending on what it is, depending on the depth and the extent of what you're offering, it could either be very simple or it can take some time because there's complexity to it. All of these things, you have to understand they have to be built. They have to be nurtured. They have to be grown, and they have to be given time. They have to be cultivated until they are the right thing. And sometimes even when you go out and make your offer on your business, you may realize, I have something that people want, but the way that I'm offering it isn't resonating. Okay. So now you got to rework your offer. You got to cultivate your offer. You got to redo it. You got to put it back together in a different way and present it in a new way so that you can get something you can get a different result. You can get something from your efforts and that it will work for you. All of these things are out there. All of these things are a part of the cultivating process. Again, we knew that when I was on the farm, you planted the seed in the spring, and it took time for that seed to even germinate. I mean, we tilled the soil. We made sure the soil had fertilizer, that it was clean. It wasn't, it was all smooth, that it was good ground. We planted the seed, and then we had to wait. And we would spend a good amount of time without seeing anything until finally we see these little bit of pokes of green starting to poke out of the ground. And you start to see the little bit of the plants starting to grow, a little bit at a time. And it would take time. And then when they started to come out of the ground, what else was coming out of the ground? There were weeds that came out and started growing in the field too. So we'd have to go out with cultivators and knock the weeds down and get the weeds out of there so they wouldn't choke off the crop that we were raising. And then we'd have to give it more time and more, and allow it to get rain and allow it to get sun and allow it to grow. And there would be times where there'd be storms or there'd be, tragedies that would come that would cause problems. We had to keep going. We just had to keep going. And the same is true in the business. You're going to have to give it time. When we put the seed in the soil, we knew there was going to be a matter of a few weeks before we saw that, a couple weeks or so before we even saw it poking out of the ground. It doesn't mean nothing is happening. The seed is germinating beneath the soil, but it doesn't mean nothing is happening just because you don't see it yet. And just because you're building a business and you're putting the pieces in place and you're putting the structure in place doesn't mean, and you don't have any clients yet or you don't have anything in place yet, doesn't mean nothing's happening. Doesn't mean you aren't moving closer to your destination. It doesn't mean that you're not making progress. You are. It's just not publicly visible yet. But that part of your business growth is just as important as the stages that become publicly visible. This is a part of the journey. You have to be willing to look at it and give yourself credit and say, hey, look at what I've achieved so far. I've really put together the structure of a coaching program that I could offer people. I now have a plan. I know how I'm going to help people. I know how my way is going to be unique. I know what I'm going to offer. I know how I'm going to put it in place. This is fantastic. I now have something that makes a lot of sense, that when I go and talk to people, it's well thought out. And people are going to see that, and people are going to understand, hey, I get it. This makes a lot of sense. This is a really well thought out plan. Great. We can do this. And so as a result, you're creating things that are important, the things that will impact you for a long time on the other side, on the public facing side, when you're talking to people, when you're signing new clients, when you're bringing in new customers. All of the stuff that you did in the beginning is now bearing fruit on the other side. But you have to be able to stay in there. And willpower alone isn't going to be enough to do it. You have to have the right perspective. You have to have the right attitude. You have to have the vision of understanding, like, okay, I am taking time right now to build my course. And because I know that in order for me to sell a course, I have to have a course. And I can't get upset that I don't have clients yet, because I'm still in the course creation, the course building aspect. That's the side that I'm still working on. So I have to give myself grace. I have to have the vision of the entire process, of everything that I'm doing, everything that's going on, everything that I'm working on, everything that I'm doing. I have to give myself that vision of seeing what it is. Like, okay, in the bigger picture, this is, I know where I'm going. And too many times people don't have that good vision of where they're going. They're trying one idea, then they're trying another idea, like I mentioned before. You're not going to succeed if you're hop, jump, and skipping from one idea to the next all the time. It doesn't work. You have to plant your seed in the soil, and you have to be committed to that seed. You have to do what it takes to give that seed time to grow and to yield a harvest. You have to keep working it. You have to keep doing the things that need to happen to ensure its safety, to ensure its growth. That's why when you begin, you need to pick the thing that you really want to do. You need to pick the business that means something to your heart, something that you want to do this for the rest of your life. This is the work that you want to be involved in. It always makes me sad when I see people come in and they say, oh yeah, I'm going to do in this business, and I'm just going to do it, and then I'm going to grow it to here, and I'm going to sell it and dump it. And you can tell their heart's not in it at all. Their heart is not in this process at all. They're solely in it for a buck. And some of these people have become skilled enough to do that. They've become skilled enough. They know what to do. They know how to do it, know how to put the pieces in place. Bang, bang, bang. Here we go. It's done. It's over. And they're good at it. But their businesses are always just things. They're never transformational. They're never tied to their heart. They're never tied to their purpose. And as a result, it's just a task to do. And you just do it to get paid. And past that, there's no meaning. There's no purpose. There's no connection. So to do this, you have to understand that in the beginning, the work that you're doing is just as important as the work you're going to do later, which is signing and working with clients. Because what you're putting in place now is allowing you to work with clients. It's allowing you the tools, the structure, the resources that are going to allow you to be able to do the work that you need to do with your clients. And then as you grow along this process, you have to have perspective. You have to understand that this is a journey. You have to understand that this is a process, and it's going to take time to put it all together. And how long is up to you. It depends on how complex the business is that you're building. It depends on how much time you can put into building it. How many hours a week that you can dedicate to working on your business. That's all up to you. But what has to happen is you have to be able to go out and make that happen. You have to be able to give yourself the grace. You have to be able to give yourself the time. And you need to be able to celebrate when you achieve one of those things. Like, hey, we got all the seed planted in the field. Great. Hey, I got my course built. That's like putting seed in the field. You built it. You got something now. You've got something in the ground. Great. Now we can work on how we're going to market it. How are we going to get the message out? And when we do that, we work through that process. We find the right message. We tweak it. We get it right. Now we got to promote it and get it in front of more and more people so that it works. So this is how this process works. And I understand and I know that it can become discouraging at times because you feel like, am I going to get to the harvest? Am I going to get to the end? Is this actually going to work, or am I kidding myself? Here's what I'm going to tell you. Being an entrepreneur can be a very lonely journey. It can be very, very difficult when you don't have anybody in your corner that understands what you're trying to do. Especially if you don't have family or friends or other people around you that are also entrepreneurial in nature, that have that entrepreneurial spirit. If you're just around people who, they work for a company or an organization, they get their paycheck, they go home, and they don't have any entrepreneurial juice in them. And there's nothing wrong with that. There are plenty of people just like that. But they don't understand what it's like to be out there all alone. They don't understand what it's like to be facing these challenges where there's no one boss to pass off a problem to because you're the boss. Every problem is yours to deal with. Every challenge is yours to handle. And they don't get it. So the most important thing you can do is make sure you have people in your life that get you, that get the journey that you're on, that get what you're trying to do and can support you and encourage you and be there for you when you get in those moments where you're feeling down and discouraged, where you are questioning what it is that you're doing, when maybe you need to revisit some ideas and see if they're the right ones. Having those people in your life will make all the difference in the world. And if we can help you with that, that's what we do in Design Launch Grow. We are here as a community to help people stay on track, do the things that they need to do. If we can help you, check out designlaunchgrow.com, fill out an application. We would love to talk with you, have a no obligation conversation just to see if it makes sense for us to work together. And if so, maybe we can help you build that business of your dreams. If not, we'll wish each other well and we'll move on with our time. So that's what I got for you today. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you again in the next episode.